Welcome back. It is yours truly, Nick, a movie AV Impulse, where today we're diving into the worst video game movies, in my opinion, that were made. While there is talks of more video game movies coming out that are in development, which is Metal Gear Solid, Gears of War, and another reboot of Tomb Raider, these films that I'm going to mention had all the potential in the world, but butchered it beyond recognition.
You guys got fat while everybody starved on the street. It's my turn. You come with me. I'm at the Plaza Hotel. You're welcome. You're all welcome!
Before we start, let me give a quick honorable mention to the 2018 Tomb Raider reboot. While the movie wasn't awful, it was bland and very forgettable. In my opinion, just didn't really need to exist. They tried to take the reboot of the 2013 video game, add some excitement, but instead they just made a disastrous movie. But let's get into the really bad ones. And coming in at number 5 is going to be Tekken. Tekken is one of the greatest fighting game franchises of all time. But this movie, probably one of the worst adaptations ever made. Tekken is full of insane martial arts, combos, family drama, and over-the-top characters, Elisa being my favorite. But this movie gave us a watered down gimmick action flick that felt like a bad representation of a Mortal Kombat movie. In my opinion, where was the tournament hype? Instead of focusing on the larger than life fights, they made this a low budget underground cage match movie that didn't really show any representation of the video game. The costumes, while they were okay, didn't really touch their charismatic look of their characters. And let's talk about Kazuya looking like a businessman more than a powerful villain. And Jin, whoever cast this guy as the lead, he was just uncharismatic and wimpy. The fight choreography was decent at best, but the horrible acting and lifeless storytelling killed any excitement or potential that this movie had. Tekken should have been a high energy, stylish martial arts film, but instead it was an embarrassing straight to DVD mess. And coming in at number 4 is going to be Max Payne. They took a great inspired revenge video game thriller and turned it into a dull, lifeless detective movie with barely any action if you think about it. Now, in my opinion, the video game was a love letter to John Woo's stylistic shootouts in his films. And let's not forget about Bullet Time, probably one of the greatest parts of that video game. And instead of an intense story about revenge, the movie just gave us a boring detective flick with forced supernatural elements. Mark Wahlberg being cast as Max Payne, it just felt like he woke up from a nap and completely missed the character's depth. Instead of focusing on the gritty, stylish gunplay that this film could have gave us, it gives us hallucinating cast of demons. I mean, I don't even know where this matters in the plot. And the fact that this movie was rated PG-13, this should have been the first indication that this movie was going to be bad. And to me, in the story, there just wasn't enough action, tension, or even emotional weight that makes you like or feel bad for Mark Wahlberg's character, Max Payne, and all of the fun was just totally drained out of it. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Hitman. Yes, I love Hitman, the video game, but they turned Agent 47 into a gimmick action hero instead of the cold-blooded, calculated assassin that he was meant to be. While Timothy, whatever his last name is a good actor, he was just miscast totally to play Agent 47. His lack of the character's emotionless nature, it just really showed how bad he was. And instead of this stealthy mythological thriller, the movie gave us a mindless action flick with explosions and over the top gunfights. What happened to Agent 47 having to go dress up in disguises? What happened to the fact that he had to be creative with his assassinations or the fact that he had to remain low key and undetected. But instead, we get this running around shooting people in broad daylight. The script was a total mess, and the unnecessary romance subplot just made zero sense. The Hitman games are all about strategies, patience, and execution. But this movie threw it all away in favor of a cheap action and bad writing. Coming in at number two is going to be Doom. This should have been a simple movie. Doom Guy versus Demons. Instead, we get a lame Resident Evil ripoff. The biggest insult? They removed hell from the story, and instead of demons, we get some mutilated humans thanks to generic elements, and the cast was just wasted. The Rock and Carl just couldn't save this one. The movie spent way too much time on boring dialogue instead of action. Doom was a fast paced carnage, not a slow paced horror cliche, and that's what they tried to make this movie. While at the end, the first person sequence was a fun nod to the video game, I just felt like at that point it was too little, too late. And coming in at number one has got to be Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun Li. The original Street Fighter from 1994, yes, it was campy, but it is a guilty pleasure. But this movie is just a waste of a video game movie and one of the worst adaptations of all time. The biggest mistake was trying to make Street Fighter realistic. Chun Li's story should have been about martial arts and revenge, but instead they turned it into a boring crime thriller with zero personality. Kristen, whatever her name was, as Chun Li was a hard no. She was completely miscast and had no presence in this role. Let's talk about Bison. One of the game's most legendary villains was turned into a gimmick mob boss. He wasn't scary, he wasn't powerful, and he wasn't even remotely interesting. The fight scenes in this movie, at best, were trash. Street Fighter is all about intense, high energy battles, but this movie's fights were slow, awkward, and lifeless. If this isn't the worst adaptation of a video game movie, then I don't know what is. You tell me what you think deserved the number one spot. Leave your comments down below. I hope you enjoyed. Anyways, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.
Thank you. You love me.